Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Eddie Marcus here again. It is amazing to have a new day and the outlook promising that this will be as positive and progressive as the day before. The big lottery, over $1.5 billion. People all over the country have been dreaming about winning. I don't know if they've checked their numbers. Perhaps many of them have and found that they didn't win. Many haven't. But you can bet everybody who bought a ticket, bought many tickets, hoping that this would be the answer. The answer to any of their shortcomings. Because with money in the world, you're supposedly able to do all that you can imagine you want to do. Money will get you there. And I think about that. I think about how Musk, the guy who is taking over Twitter, and they were mentioning how almost half of the employee and staff had been eliminated from their jobs. And I can imagine what it must be like knowing that the income not being there, yet the challenges of day-to-day living haven't gone anyplace. And the demanding of the times and how they will be dealt with is very important, not just to them, but to those that will be affected by the extenuation of these actions. And I'm reminded about other things that's consistent with what I'm espousing right now. I look at things and I think deep where I am, what I see, what we go through every day, and what the ambitions are. I look back over the history and I'm reminded that in the days when the natives lived here, and I'm just going from the history that we've been given from the times that the natives were here and the Europeans came here, and the stuff that happened before then that I have no information of at this time, I eliminate from the discussion. But basically, what I want to refer to is that those natives who were gentle to the invaders, who trusted and believed in friendship and whatever the good things were of that day, I'm sure they're the same things of this day. But find out that they got sucker punched and they were going to be used and abused. And many of them were warriors, knowing that the truth was not working for them. It was, in fact, a deception that they were not willing to accept. And they chose to fight back. I have no doubt that every last one of those who resisted because of what they knew to be a righteous act and were willing to commit to it and lost their lives in it, I have no doubt that they, my friends, went to heaven. Now, I can't think of a better place for them than heaven as I understand it, or perhaps as we understand it. And those who were marched off into concentration camps or broke down and say, we will accept your way, they represent people who were marched down and accepted hell. They refused to stand up for what is right. They knew what was right. They know what is right, and they understand that they still are being denied what is right. So every day of their lives, they are living in pure hell that they permit, while those warriors who are here no longer are in heaven. And I say that because it refers not only to the natives, but to the Africans who were brought here. Those who resisted, those who jumped off the ships rather than come here and be exposed to the type of suffering that slaves have to endure, or just traveling aboard the ships refused to go through that extreme and gave it a reason to end it. Going where? As warriors, resisting evil to a heaven where else would they go? While the rest who came here with slaves, with chains, sold off and spent off, nothing but pure hell, ladies and gentlemen. This is the hell of that. The freedom was to stand and resist, even though it gave you a door out that we do not understand, did not understand. But for those who knew the truth, it didn't matter. Yet, to those who didn't, we exist in slavery. We exist in bondage of a system that offered us something different than what the Creator offered us. The Creator offered us life as if in heaven, giving us all the resources, giving us the ambition through our imagination, giving us the skills and allowing each of us to engage ourselves in a career that gives us our greatest joy, and in the process create everything that we can imagine. Reasons for peace and prosperity and freedom and joy, fulfillment of our dreams at our leisure, having not to lie, to cheat, to steal, to kill, to do any of those things, stand to represent that. No one can deny that, even though they take your life and the body as we understand in the twinkling of an eye. Well, you can believe that if you desire. I don't know, really doesn't matter to me, because just standing up for truth in the moment and the time that you exist is glorious enough. But if there is something beyond that that is considered heaven, then so be it. It's not my doing. It's the desire. It's the desire of the Creator. And so what I'm coming from is the hell that I've been living in all my life. Do you know what it's like to live in hell? In hell, you can't do what you want to do. Everybody's controlling in hell. There's no freedom. Your mother and your parents control you for whatever the reasons are. I'm sure they're good reasons. When you are beyond that, you're controlled by the systems of government. If you're in relationships, you're controlled by relationships, each requiring that you give of yourself perhaps more than you would desire, yet you give it and suffer the persecution, in hopes that it will reward you in perhaps other ways. And yet we go through these lives, and what do? We allow the continuation of living in bondage where we are not free. When freedom comes, when love comes, we understand that we allow the gifts that have been given to us. We receive them. And if a person having no reason to sell their bodies wants to engage in sex outside of a relationship that they have been committed to, that's them and their maker. We judge not. Why? Because we know what judging does. We know exactly what judging does. It causes us to believe that we know what's best. It causes us to create a system, whether it's a democracy, whether it's capitalism or capitalistic democracy, whether it's communism, whether it's socialism, whether it's dictatorships, whether it's any isms, outside of that which creates joy for everyone. This is what's important to me, ladies and gentlemen. In my lifetime, there have been many, I'm sure, many soldiers for truth. But there have been two that set aside, so you can always focus on. And that was Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. For me, those were the two examples who were right here in the middle of this hell. And they recognized that they were in hell and that we were all in hell. They were each on a path to truth, led by a divine spirit, and they were walking according to that spirit. And nations, their eyes were open, not that they could see clear, but open enough to at least follow. And the enemy of God called them the most dangerous people on the face of the earth and found some way to knock them out. And it's like the lights went out. And we were all confused again, especially when they tried to give us a little trinkets and say, you are moving on up, but not out. And that was the game. And we're still in this hell. Blacks against whites, whites against blacks, men against women, women against men, each other against each other, and expect to go someplace other than hell. Well, my whole point in life is that a long time ago, I got a chance to have a relationship with God. It had nothing to do, as far as I can see. Yes, I grew up in the church, but it had nothing to do with the church, really. I grew up knowing about scripture, stuff like that, but it really had nothing to do with scripture. It had something to do with something that I found myself in. And only a God. Only a God. And what I say, a God, the power, the evidence was there. All of the evidence of a God was right there. And that was all that I could see of that God, was the evidence. The evidence was all that I could see of that God. So I knew from that moment on that there's a God, an invisible God, that's filled with nothing but pure OD love and joy. And for me to get that information and still be here is to glorify that in words and basically in deeds. Now, I've been giving you words. I've been kind of scrappy on the making those steps, because I've been hoping. I've just been hoping that one day that your eyes would open and we can see together in these bodies on this earth during these times together. Now, yes, I'm willing to go on just like everybody else. The door is always open for each and every last one of us. We don't have to stay in this hell. We can choose to walk out anytime we get ready. All you have to do is choose a point of love and stand up for it. Give your life for it. Evil would take it if they won't change. If the people can't change based upon what you glorify, then hey, now that's a step that each of us have to make on our own. We can't be persuaded to do that. No. So I'm saying here, as I get ready to close this, I didn't intend to come this way. I really thought I would come here with a lot of fussing and a lot of condemning. But I tell you what, if I had that $1 billion lottery, I think the best thing for me to do was to make sure that the lady that has spent her adult life making sure that I had a roof over my head and food on the table and means of transporting myself from here and there occasionally, that I should give her as much of that joy, money, as I get, and let her do whatever she wants to with it, with no attachments, and I do whatever I want with it. But at the same time, freeing myself to be a soldier, a straight up soldier, telling you, because now I can get around. I got some money. I can get around all over this country and I can bring it together. But I'm not trying to, play no games. Just let you know what you haven't heard. You get all kind of messages, but you haven't heard the truth about the love of God. I've been listening. I haven't heard it. And when I finally got it, it came spiritually. And that's why I'm sharing it with you, because I know if you haven't gotten it, it's because you haven't been connected to the Spirit. And that's the only other way you could get it, because as I mentioned. But here, again, the life is in our hands. We can choose it anytime. Anytime. Right now, we're in pure OD hell. And nature really appears to be our enemy. But it's not. Nature's just doing what nature's supposed to do. But since we have not been on what you call on the vine, we haven't been keeping up with the times. And now while nature is doing its thing, all that stuff that we call ourselves doing is just being washed away with the waters, washed away with the floods, with the storm. Doesn't mean a thing. We put our whole lives just in it. And it goes, boom, just like that. And then you have to start all over again. Isn't it wonderful that you can stay ahead of the game? This is what we're talking about. Stand ahead of the game with a life that comes from being controlled by a spirit that is of love instead of that which is hell. Thank you for right now, ladies and gentlemen.